Raw Story is reporting that a Texas campus cop has emptied a gun on a student that appears to have been unarmed. There's a campus police officer in San Antonio, Texas, who is now being investigated after shooting and killing an unarmed student at an off-campus traffic stop. I'll explain more about the off-campus thing. At a press conference a few days ago, Lieutenant Cindy Pruitt of the Alamo Heights Police Department said that this occurred when University of the Incarnate World Corporal Chris Carter pulled over 23-year-old Robert Cameron Reedus a few blocks off campus. A witness who didn't wish to be identified said that the officer never warned Reedus that he was going to start shooting him. I didn't hear him say anything like get down on your hands and knees, you know. I didn't hear him say anything. He just started shooting. He emptied the gun on him. 5 shots, 6 shots, 5 or 6. However, there is a 22-year-old, Mohammed Hyderasl, who says that he did hear Reedus speak to the officer. I heard a man say, "Oh, you're going to shoot me?" Sarcastic almost. And then, yes, he was shot 5 or 6 times. Now, I got 2 emails saying, why is a campus police officer conducting a traffic stop off campus? We looked into this. According to university policy, officers do have the authority to patrol all university property, parking lots, residence halls, and facilities that are near campus. We still don't know what the victim was allegedly doing wrong. Lieutenant Pruitt said that there would be an investigation to try to determine whether Reedus had a weapon or was threatening Carter in any way. Lewis, aside from the training that these law enforcement officers get that seems to encourage violence in many cases where it may not be warranted, there's another element that isn't being discussed, which is that law enforcement officer is a popular position for many former members of the military. And there is now a growing movement to explore whether PTSD, undiagnosed and or untreated PTSD, could be playing a role in the behavior of some law enforcement officers. Completely separate question from this specific case. Absolutely no evidence specifically to tie these actions to PTSD, but it is something, Lewis, that is not often discussed.
Well, there was another incident just like this recently, the one with the child who had the fake gun who was shot.
Right.
And it was believed that officer was suffering from PTSD or something similar. And if I recall correctly, he was in the military as well.
I think that we also, Lewis, need to move beyond that, because you're absolutely right that anecdotally there are a lot of these links, but we need to move beyond these internal investigations. Don't you think, Lewis? Every time something like this happens, we hear, oh, it's being investigated internally, or maybe by the assistant district attorney who's very buddy-buddy with the police department in question. It seems like there's enough of these incidents where there needs to be some kind of umbrella investigations by groups not so closely tied to the offending officers.
Right. I mean, occasionally you have internal affairs involved in the mix, but I really think that this should be handled federally when things like this happen.
Okay, we've got a great bonus show planned for you today. The bonus show is one of many supporter benefits that we have set up for our members. To Mars in 39 days. We've talked about the long trip to Mars and how limiting that is in terms of the potential for Mars exploration and the challenges that imposes. We now have a new possible way of getting to Mars in just 39 days. We're going to talk about that. We've got a video game story. We have follow-ups on prior stories. Become a David Pakman Show member. Support this program. We're mostly funded by individual members. Go to davidpakman.com/membership. Become a supporter. You could be a member before we tell you our next story just after this break.